Good morning this is Mornings with Michael. We're Small Business Saturday Leaders welcomes Mathew Owens. Mathew is a CPA and a real estate investor. Matt graduated from UC Santa Barbara. He was an audit senior at NSBN LLP. Since then, he was a CPA and business advisors at Brigante, Cameron, Waters and Strong LLP. His company is PTO Financial, where he's a CFO and business advisor. Currently, Matt is a CEO and business owner at OCG Properties. Matt specializes in equity and cash flow real estate investments. He earned his CPA license while performing audit and taxation engagements on large real estate firms and has now raised over $75 million. Oh, that's incredible. In private investor capital and flipped over 1,000 single family homes and value-added multifamily assets. He currently specializes in lending capital to flippers, multifamily investors, while helping investors invest in value added and cash flowing residential multifamily real estate investments. He works with investors in multiple ways to acquire real estate in high cash flow markets around the country while helping investors develop various cash flow streams through syndications run by professional operators, promissory notes, and other real estate related assets. Matt, I hope I covered a variety of what you do, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. So, tell us a little bit about your experience at UC Santa Barbara.
Well, I'll have to say I didn't know where to go to school, and I wanted to become an architect. And I found out they didn't have architecture school at Santa Barbara, but when I was already going there and realized that, hey, I'm not leaving this school. So I actually became an accountant, and mostly because there was too many girls at the school. So my mentality at the time at 18 years old or 19 years old was, hey, I'm not leaving this place. I don't care what major I have to major in to do that. It was really dumb, but it kind of worked out. Of course, being a CPA now, it's an unfair advantage in real estate to have that understanding of the math side of things, and financial analysis and all that kind of stuff when it comes to real estate investing. So it's a lot more fun now than doing taxes and audit for a CPA firm, I'll tell you that.
So did you hang out at the beach at all in Santa Barbara?
It was a decision of, do I walk 2 minutes to the beach from where I was living, or do I go to class? So that was my freshman year. I had to make up a little bit, of course, in the summer school that next year, so I didn't have to tell my parents that I didn't do well in a couple of classes. So you realize how easy high school was in comparison, and finally find out, oh, this is what reality is and how you actually grow up. So it was a lot of fun for sure at UC Santa Barbara, but it kind of laid the groundwork, I think, on the accounting side and the economic side for being able to do what I love doing now, So
tell us a little bit about your audit experience.
So I used to actually audit for both BCWS and NSBN, where I would help a lot of small businesses and audit those and look at their internal controls, look at all the different aspects of their company and how to improve those companies, as well as a lot of smaller multifamilies and government subsidized multifamilies that had to have audits for their actually for their subsidies for their low income housing and things like that. And so I would come in and do a lot of audits on that, and kind of gave me the backup experience for understanding multifamilies, understanding, the taxation of them, how things typically flow, the accounts receivable processes and procedures and all that kind of stuff that a management company and asset manager goes through. At the time, I don't think I really knew what I was learning, but now going into real estate, of course, in 2006, to go into real estate full time, it's a great benefit to know that stuff inside and out.
Where were these companies located?
One was up in Beverly Hills, California. The other one was down in Torrance, California, where I grew up in Torrance, California, and now I live down in the Orange County area with near my wife's family, and have a couple of kids, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I'm on the way to finding ways of doing nothing so I can spend more time with the kids.
Where do you live in Orange County?
I live down in the Garden Grove area.
Garden
Yeah, my
Grove?
wife is
Okay.
Vietnamese, and there's a very big Vietnamese population in Garden Grove, and Fountain Valley and Westminster. So they actually call it Little Vietnam, and it's great. Some amazing food, amazing culture, and stuff like that, and lots of babysitters for my kids when I need the help.
Yeah, my
Lots of
daughter goes
family.
to Chapman University, not too far from where
Okay,
Garden Grove is. Yeah.
that's great.
So
That's
so
great.
we're down there usually about once a month, bringing fresh home cooked food.
Nice, nice. That's awesome.
So how did you get into the real estate area?
So I was working at one of the CPA firms, and honestly, my personality was this was boring to me, right? Doing taxes and audit, and it was kind of monotonous, doing the same thing over and over. It was great to see the inner workings of businesses, but at the same time, it really just wasn't my personality. I didn't love doing it. I'm a very big, I'll say, libertarian. I don't believe in paying the government money, and helping doing the taxes and stuff like that. It just was not my cup of tea. And my brother or my stepbrother actually came to me back in like 2005, 2004, and he said, "Hey, you got to come take this class with me that's all about real estate investing and stuff." And I'm like, "How much did you pay?" And he said, "Oh, like I paid $16,000." And I'm like, immediately
Wow.
my mind, I was like, "You got stolen from, buddy," and it was funny because I was totally gonna flake on him and not go to this class, and I ended up actually going, and he called me the day of and kind of forced me to go. And it was really what I was looking for. At the end of the day, they teach you how to buy properties, all the inner workings of all the different strategies with real estate, wholesaling, fix and flipping, self-directed IRA investing, tax and legal structures, multifamily, all different types of asset classes. And I have to tell you, man, I was hooked as soon as as soon as I saw the strategies that you could implement in real estate. I was like, what am I doing? This is like everything that I was looking for. And my learning curve was immediately like that. And I got super excited about it. And now I love talking to other people about it because my wife doesn't let me talk about it anymore. Cause she's like, honey, I really love what you do. It's amazing, but I just want to fall asleep. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. So, but yeah, but that's how I get started. I actually got my first deal under contract in 2006, and where I was going to flip a property, a duplex, and make $30,000 on that. I ended up making 20. But as soon as I got that under contract and learned the strategies how to do that, I quit my CPA firm job immediately. I was like, I'm done. I just can't. My mind was gone. I just was so focused on this other thing that was so interesting and appealing to me that I just had to jump ship. And not everybody could do that. I didn't have kids at the time, didn't have a lot of responsibilities at the time. Only had about 30 grand in the bank because, even if you're a CPA at that, you're still, not necessarily making a lot of money yet,
Uh-huh.
in the beginning. And everybody thinks, oh, you must be making a great living, but yeah, not really, not in the
Hmm.
beginting. So, but I was still making good money, I was making six figures, but it wasn't, crazy amount of money and everything. And at the end of the day, you realize, hey, if you have to follow your passion. And I always had in my head, oh, I can go back to being a CPA if I wanted to, but at the end of the day, I was so hooked after that. It was just extremely interesting to me. And of course, I started flipping all of a sudden. I got an office at the World Trade Center in Long Beach on the 23rd floor. My two
Oh,
stepbrothers were
wow.
my business partners, the both computer programmers, electrical engineers. And I was a real estate genius for about a year and a half until the market crashed in 2008, and realized I wasn't the genius I thought I was. And it was just the real estate market that was the genius that was happening right then, that was carrying me forward and making me a lot of money. It was really humbling. I had a 790 credit score. I'm flipping houses. I just quit my CPA firm job, and my ego was like, oh, I'm dope. And then you realize very quickly how humbled you can be, and realizing that, you really don't know anything yet about how to run the business side of things. I thought, hey, my books are done, so therefore I must be doing good as a business. That's mentality side of coming as from a technician side into more of an entrepreneur, business owner, and managerial type skill set that you have to bring to the table to truly be successful as an entrepreneur, right? So, and lots of learning in that time. But since then, we flipped 1,000 houses. We actually have over 35 million now lent out to flippers in different markets around the country as a construction lender. We've actually raised now over $150 million over the last 15 years for different real estate transactions like multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks, flipping, holding, lending, all different types of strategies that I invest in and that I help other investors understand. And a lot of them come with tax mitigation structures and stuff like that. And so I use my CPA skill sets to help a lot of investors with those tax strategies, with investing their own retirement account into real estate. I've flipped and done lending inside my own retirement vehicles and stuff like that, in my own 401k. So it's exciting once you learn the strategies and the tools to do this, like how much more money you can make if you bring the right skill sets or the right resources, or find ways of developing those resources if you don't have them, right? Like raising capital, or other people that find deals from you, or strategic partnerships and things like that. It's pretty fun.
So do you teach as well?
I do have a class. I have a 6-month real estate class that goes over every aspect of real estate investing. And I did that because I wish I had more of an infrastructure class. I took those other classes, which were great, but how to run a business, financial education, self-directed retirement account investing, going through and how to fix and flip, buy and hold, do promissory notes, invest in multifamilies. Different people have different skill sets and different interests and actually different life goals, right? You have a lot different life if you're wholesaling properties and grinding like crazy versus if you are investing in promissory notes and trying to be passive and make spreads, or investing in multifamily or other syndication deals where you don't have to do the work. You don't have to go and manage the deal and all that kind of stuff and take on the debt. You can just invest with other people, but then you got to learn how to do the homework on all these other people, to make sure that you don't get screwed,
Right.
So these are the things that I try to teach about, because, through my journey, I realized, wow, wholesaling is a massive grind. After flipping 1,000 houses, I became a specialist, but at the same time, it's a grind and it's hard and it's a lot of work. And I swear I know 1,000 ways to lose money on a house now, right? So you find the trials and tribulations with each strategy you deploy, and as you kind of graduate with your resources as a real estate investor, you can actually go through and do bigger and better things where your time, it's more value for your time, right? Than flipping a house making 20 grand a pop, when I could be doing a big multifamily for the same level of work, maybe a little bit more work, and making, $500,000 or something like that, for example, right? So, but understanding these strategies is what gets me excited.
So in your house flipping, did you get in there and do the rehabbing, or did you have a team, or how did that go about?
Actually, so my team on the ground in these different markets, we do this in multiple markets around the country, and my team on the ground calls me the keyboard warrior, because I do not have rehab hands. I'm sitting out here, dealing with the budgets, dealing with budget versus actual, analyzing the deal and the market values, and putting the teams together on the ground in these markets. And you learn a lot about how to develop the right team members. I think the first 5 years I just got stolen from every single year, learning lessons about how to hire the right contractors and the right property managers and the right realtors, and those types of things. And so we basically went out and developed these teams that would do that, and then you learn how to bring in outside quality control people to manage them, so that way you have eyes and ears out there consistently and getting you consistent documentation back. It's a lot easier now, for sure, just because of technology now and everything else, comparatively even to 2006. So, I mean, we had, some of the online stuff, but we didn't have like how robust it is now with all the data and everything to be able to help us, of course, and all the resources out there and technology that, takes it really to a completely another level, right? So, but yeah, I would used to go out there and walk through properties and stuff like that and deal with understanding it, of course, and doing, spotting things and understanding, how things are working, walking through with inspectors to make sure I really understood the cost there and the costs associated with the construction aspect of that, right? And got into that level of depth, especially in the beginning. But now I'd never even look at the house myself. I have teams that handle all that stuff. I don't do any of that work anymore at all. But I'm kind of on my way out of flipping right now. It's really just not worth my time anymore to do that stuff versus some of these other bigger deals and lending and syndication investing that is much more passive. Like I was saying, I want to spend time with the kids, and go camping with the kids instead of being an operator at all times, right? So, but it helps with the due diligence on these other investments, understanding the operations associated with this, right? And that, I think, is the key to the whole thing, is understanding the risks, how you mitigate them, what team members are going to help you mitigate them and give you the reporting you need so you can make decisions and, take action. And of course, having a lot of resources and capital sources and relationships with people that are good team members that can help you out in different ways is the key to the whole thing, right? And it helps you mitigate risk in a lot of ways.
Have you ever heard of Edward Brown?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, he was on my podcast last week, and
Okay,
he's been in real estate for like over 3 decades, and
nice.
he's had a real estate show uh, on the radio, uh, and
Okay.
so it was just kind of interesting. Pacific Private Money is his company where he provides private money for investors, and
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
brought it up because I was curious if you had heard of him.
Yeah, we,
Um,
we do a lot of the same thing, and that's where you can really add value to other investors is bringing them capital sources and developing those relationships. I've been doing this for 15 plus years. I have people that will just write me $1 million, $2 million check now if I ask them to, even without paperwork, which I won't let them do that, but they just trust me that much because I've taken bullets for their money in the past, right? So, and you learn lessons the hard way, right?
say, I was just wondering, you have a great business and you have a lot of experience. You know, how do you contribute to your local, community? Do you give back or do you have free workshops? I'm just curious about that
Yeah,
aspect.
absolutely. So since 2008, myself and a couple of partners of mine actually have been running a nonprofit called For Investors by Investors in Southern California. We have about 6 chapters throughout Southern California. They're all on meetup.com and all of our different chapters. If you type in FIBI or For Investors by Investors, you'll find all of our chapters throughout Southern California. And we just
Okay.
teach financial education, real estate education. We bring in attorneys, we bring in insurance agents, other investors that are in the market, other fix and flippers, other real estate investors all the time, and we just teach them, and it's all basically free. We charge $25 to pay for the venue, and we don't make any money on it at all. And
Uh-huh.
we just basically and we market for it and use our capital to go do that stuff. And we get 50 to 100 people at each one of these chapters every single month reoccurring, and we've been doing this since 2008 just to teach people these types of strategies and understanding the right financial education, how to be careful in the current real estate market, how to set up the right legal entities and tax entities, and really take control over their life to really invest in all these different ways. And I've done a lot of teaching where we just teach people and I don't charge them for it. We just teach across the board. We do have our course if people want to take like 6 months that's a deep dive master degree course. Of course, that's different than what I teach elsewhere. But we've been running that since 2008 and just teaching people these types of strategies and how to protect themselves and make money. And I really believe in the power of being able to help people and educate people in that way because it gives them the power to be able to really take control of their own life and be able to actually put the right tools in place for themselves. We've had people in the very beginning that started off at our meetings, and I see them now and they have millions of dollars lent out, or they've
Oh,
flipped a
wow.
ton of houses, or they've gone through and done all types of stuff, and they attribute a lot of that to our consistent meetings because it's just free education and based on all the people that we know that are specialists in these strategies. I learned a strategy just going to a weekend type course like that, where I did a loan inside my 401k, for example, for $500,000 inside my own 401k, where it lent it out at a 14% interest rate to a flipper. And then what happened was my 401k then borrowed $450,000 from a private investor at an 8% interest rate. So I had 50,000 of my 401k left in the deal of my funds, and I assigned the deed of trust to my private investors so that they have their collateral interest in the promissory note. It's secured by the property, and they have their complete, security. And then I got the difference between the 8 and the 14% on the entire, thing. And so if you do the math, my 401k was making $36,000 a year, which is a 68% return on my money in a situation like that inside a 401k. And then I taught that to like 5 other people, and one guy was tears with me because he had a couple $100,000 left and he couldn't retire and was like stressed about that. And I said, look at this strategy. But he knew lending and he understood lending, but he's like, $200,000 lending it out is not going to make me enough to live off of. But if he broke that off into, basically $2 million from taking that $50,000 chunk strategies that he could make, he could retire off of that money. And he actually started doing that as well, which was like super cool because he was like in his late 60s and just really like, I got $200,000. That's all I have left. And I don't know what to do. And now he's got $2 million lent out across all these different deals, and he's making a spread on that, which is amazing, but, and he doesn't want to go bigger than that. He just wants to stick with his, money like that and not expand. It's just he's retired, he doesn't want to deal with a lot more work.
So you said you like to go camping with your kids. What are some of the hobbies or ways that you kind of recharge your batteries with all the
So
business that you got here?
absolutely. I mean, that's always been the hard part. I actually went and talked to some mentors of mine about how to turn my brain off sometimes, right? Because when you are going 100 miles an hour as an entrepreneur, it's really difficult, of course, to just switch and go in and wrestle with the kids and not be thinking about work the whole time while you're wrestling with them or while you're trying to be there with the family, right? And so one of the things I do that's been instrumental is, I got my health dialed in. I lost probably about 35 pounds over the last year and a half. And I walk about 20,000 steps a day, which is about 10,000 miles or 10,000 or 10 miles a day, which is on like a walking desk or walking treadmill. I meditate quite a bit, usually every single day, especially right when I try to go into the house afterwards and meditate right before I go into the house. So that way I'm present for the kids a lot more. I'm coaching my son's basketball team and things like that. So my son, I did a video of him and he was saying, I was like, what's your favorite thing in the world, buddy? And he's like, my favorite thing is when you coach me at basketball, Dad. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm coaching for the rest of my life now. That's great. So, and my dad coached me. So it's kind of like, a thing that I want to continue, so, and my dad was a CPA as well. And I lost him when I was 26 to skin cancer. So, there's some nostalgia there. There's some meaning behind that for me to be able to do a lot of the same things. I haven't worked up to making my kid sing military songs while he runs in practice yet, but like my dad did, but I'll get there one time. So
Awesome. Well, Mathew, I really appreciate you joining us. So I see we're both connected to Billy Lim.
yeah, I
Um,
believe so. Yeah.
yeah, I'm often down in Orange County. Be great to be able to buy a cup of coffee one time when
Yeah.
I'm down there.
That's awesome.
Um,
Sounds great, man.
well, I thank you for joining Mornings with Michael. It's learned a lot from you, and I look forward to learning more about your business.
Yeah,
Uh,
no problem at all. Thanks so much. If anybody wants to find me, you can go to MathewOwens.com. It's just one T in Matthew. My parents couldn't spell is how I explain the one T. So, but yeah, MathewOwens.com, and I have all my info there. So
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. This has been Mornings with Michael. We look forward to getting back to the market next week, but this has been an incredible learning experience with Mathew, and we hope everybody has a great weekend.